Hey Steve, I'm so excited to have this opportunity to talk with you. I've known you as a good source of insight. You have a lot of great ideas. You've built a bunch of businesses, so you bring a lot of wealth of experience. So I'm so excited to have this opportunity to talk with you.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for the coffee, by the way.
That's part of the prep. Every time you see me, you ask me some tough questions. You always ask, how are you doing? And you're not asking for the surface level information. You want to know deeper, right? You want to know, how am I exercising? Am I, reading books regularly? And do I, am I actually, have a consistent balance of life between work and life and things of that nature? And I know some of that wisdom came from years, you being in the workforce, as well as you read a ton of books. And one of the things that I admire about you is the fact that for how many years now that you've been reading a book a week?
Probably 20.
20 years.
Close to 20, yeah.
So you read a book a week.
Maybe a book every 2 weeks, but
okay.
Yeah, sometimes.
But regardless, that's way more than most other people that I've ever encountered in my life.
Yep.
So how can somebody who's a business owner or someone who's extremely busy with all kinds of other stuff, how do they make that as a part of their lifestyle, and how can they do that?
How can they incorporate the finding the time to read, or finding the desire to read,
correct,
or all that good
and
stuff?
even making a priority.
Yeah. Well, as I developed the Hour of Champions, what I identified very quickly is, your brain is like a computer. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of storage capability, right? So I started saying to myself years ago, all these people spend their life to put down a life's worth of information in 200, 300, 400 pages. Why wouldn't I just borrow it as quick as I can? It took them 25 years, and I can kind of download it in a week or 2 weeks. It made sense to me. And now with the advent of like Audible and these other apps made available, I actually get up in the morning, and while I'm doing some other work, maybe on my computer or planning my day, I've got my Audible playing on my phone, and a book is being read to me. So I can do it even swifter now, and gather more information than I ever have. I'm maybe doing 2 a week now, and it's unfathomable to me that this is available, and a lot of people aren't taking advantage of it. As part of my daily protocol, I may load a book into my phone, and while I'm actually working out at the gym, I have my headset on and a book is being read to me. And I'm not like sitting in a corner trying to, take it all in, but kind of through osmosis, it's sinking in my brain.
Most certainly. Yeah.
And I guess my point is, is that like having a computer, having this knowledge in my brain allows me to retrieve information that's available to me. So a lot of times I don't have to search for it, right? Ordinarily I might have had to go to the library or do a Google search. Now I go, wow, I just read something on that. And I, close my eyes, I think about it, and my brain retrieves the information because I took the time to exercise my brain,
Yeah.
And it helps in the mental toughness component.
I know you talk a lot about investing in yourself. I mean, that's one of the things that you always told me as well.
Yeah.
Why is it so important that oftentimes, people don't consider that to be an important aspect? Why is it so important to invest in oneself? I
think people see it as an expense more than understanding what the outcome will be. To me, I started going to Anthony Robbins and John Maxwell and all these big time events years ago, and I started seeing immediate returns. I would come home and I would start implementing things into my business, and automatically it would be 3x, 5x, 10x. So I just constantly searched. But I think the stumbling block for people is they think of it as an expense instead of an investment, and it's funny because people will pay money for tennis lessons, for dance lessons, for any kind of lessons, right? That they may not actually see a return on, other than some joy, which is a return in itself. But when it comes to business, people are reluctant for some reason, and that's why I've, pounded it to you for years. You got to believe in yourself. As if you believe you have the ability to grow, you've got to find the mechanisms to help you grow, and that's through coaching, attending, seminars, workshops, etc., where you can get pieces of information and just, kind of integrate them into your life and your work and see the value.
Yeah, the funny
So-
thing is though, like I sit across the table from a lot of business owners, and some of them are extremely smart guys in their industry, and they've built a very strong, strong business. It's growing rapidly as well. But they have kind of still stuck in their old ways in terms of things that they do,
Yeah.
and they have no desire to change. And it surprises me sometimes because I show examples of what other companies in their industry is doing to acquire customers and grow things of that nature. But they're so afraid of that, even taking a step and change, to try something new.
Yeah.
Like what is that reluctance? Why do you think some people are so not willing to adapt to new ideas and things like that?
Fear. 100% fear. Fear of what they don't know. Sometimes the fear of what you do know is less fierce than the fear of what you don't know. As goofy as that seems. And in my business in particular with the Hour of Champions, I'm not even trying. I am getting people out of fear and getting them to take that next step because they're telling me they're stuck in fear, right? So I think that when you're working with folks like that, you've got to get them to find reality and come to the table with why they're reluctant to change, and then show them the hell and then show them the heaven, if you will. And when people can see the light, more often than not, they'll take the risk to change.
So, I've heard, stories of people saying, man, I wish I had bought some Amazon stock when it went public, or I wish I had bought some, Facebook stock when it went public. But they're looking back in the past lost opportunities and saying, I wish I had bought, right? But the same thing they do even today, they have opportunities to invest in themselves. They have opportunity to invest in their businesses. And I know you mentioned about fear. How can you propel people to see that it's better to take action today as opposed to mourning over the lost opportunities? How do you help people to do that in their business or in personal life?
Well, the first thing I do is try to coach people into they should stop hoping for a better past. If you can understand that, because the past is never going to change, right? So, you know that I wrote a book in 2012, and I know that you were one of my biggest fans when I launched it, and the opening chapter was called Know Your Story. And there's a reason for that, and there's a reason why that's imperative in being successful as an entrepreneur also. Because if you know your story, you could look back and see what made you successful and what didn't work in the past, right? So if you don't repeat what didn't work and you do repeat what did work, you probably have a much better chance for success going forward. And then think about the chance that you didn't take, and think about why you didn't take it years ago, and would you be willing to take that risk again now? Was it a monetary risk? Was it a lifestyle risk? Was it an age risk? Whatever, we have to change the stories that we tell ourselves. In the past, you might have said, I'm not smart enough, I don't have enough money, I'm not good enough, right? Enough with the enoughs. So what I try to get people to do is bury the past and hold them accountable into the future and test the waters. And
I know oftentimes when I come, you and I run into gym oftentimes, and and you ask me how am I doing, I say, things could be better, but you challenge my thinking, because he said it's all in your head. Like you say, hey, it's however you think is how you're going to behave and how you're going to act. And how can I, proactively be thinking positive about the environment or the circumstances that I'm faced with?
You're asking me how?
Yeah.
Well, I think you can ask yourself the question, is what I'm telling myself real? And I was sharing this with an old friend the other day who happened to call me up and was going through a rough patch in life. And he said to me, wow, Steve, you're so amazing. And I said, well, that's so kind, but why do you say that? And he said, well, you get up every morning at 4 o'clock and go to the gym. I can't get out of bed. And I said to him, well, that's not true. You can get out of bed. You just tell yourself you can't get out of bed. I tell myself I'm getting up because I have a mission to accomplish. If you saw the outcome, if you thought about the outcome instead of that present moment, putting yourself into that victim mode, you'd be able to change your story about yourself, and then your thinking would change, right? So I challenge you all the time. You're at the gym. Sam, I haven't seen you here in a while. I don't have time. Well, that's nonsense. Everybody has time. You know, you just need to learn how to trade time, right? If you could find 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 7 minutes here, 2 minutes here, 5 minutes here, and add it up, you'd have 42 extra minutes a day, and you'd figure out, you know, what to do with those 42 minutes, right?
I can sit here and talk for hours, but I do have a question. I know you read a
Sure.
lot, so it's hard to ask you what's your favorite book, but can you name a couple of business books that you really love and that you think our audience should be reading?
Well, I think, you know, one of the ancient ones that never gets old is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That's a must for any person in business, that's for sure. And then, of course, you know, I'm kind of partial to my own book, The Titan. Though it's a 75-page read, I do believe that the little nuggets in there that are woven into the chapters, despite the fact that it's a fictitious little novel, I look back all the time, and it's my life. You know, those chapters are my life. So, and I want to share it with everybody. So I hope, you know, people will pick up my book also.
Yeah, and I also enjoyed the book you told me to read, The Servant, which was a real
Servant
nice.
is a great book,
Yeah.
also by James Hunter. Yeah,
Yeah.
a great book on
It's a
leadership.
counterculture method, you know, concept that he teaches
Yeah.
in terms of a leader being more of a servant. You
Yes,
know? So
for sure.
It's a powerful
Well,
book.
that goes back to, you know, checking your ego at the door also, you know, and being a teammate. I always refer to the people that I work with as teammates. Not, I don't have employees. I've never had employees. They've always been part of a team, and that makes people
Work
feel
hard.
good.
Yeah.
You know, have a good identity about themselves, you know.
Sounds good. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Steve.
Oh,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for the time.